Are you able to see the PPT screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, our next topic is requirements engineering. So this also belongs to module 1 only. So in module 1, we have software process models. So far we discussed evolutionary model, concurrent software process models, waterfall model, opportunistic model, phase released model, spiral model, evolutionary model, concurrent engineering model. So next we are entering into the second part, domain analysis. So in that we are going to discuss about problem definition and scope, requirements definition, types of requirements, techniques for gathering and analysis requirements documents, reviewing and managing change requirements. So in the second part, we are going to discuss about domain analysis in continuation with the software process models, waterfall model, opportunistic model, phase released model, spiral model, evolutionary model, concurrent engineering model. After the 7 models, we are going to discuss about domain analysis, problem definition and scope, requirements definition, types of requirements, requirements for gathering and analyzing requirements documents and managing change in requirements. So the first topic in part 2 is domain analysis. Can you tell me what is domain? Are you able to see the PPT screen? All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What is written in the screen PPT? Can you read me? Domain analysis. Lakshmi Narayana, can you explain what is a domain? Can you give me some examples for domains? Ratish? So we are doing projects for the different users. So the broad area of projects can be classified based on the domains. Say we can say banking domain, financial domain, agriculture domain, and educational domain and hospital domain. So the projects which are related with hospitals, medicines and doctors, patients, we will call it as hospital domain. The projects which are related with agriculture based operations, we will call it as the broad area will be called as agriculture domain. So if the project is related with scientific calculation and mathematical operations, we'll call it as scientific domain or research domain or mathematical domain. And the projects which are related based on the topics on the areas of computer science, we'll call it as computer science or information technology domain. So before start doing or implementing the project, we need to analyze the domain, and we should understand the domain. Then only we can create the project according to the domain. So in a domain analysis, what we are doing is domain analysis is the process by which the software engineer learns background information. So the domain is nothing but we should understand the background of the project. what is the project, what is actually going on manually, and what are the parameters related with the people and parameters related with the particular project domain. Learning background knowledge so that you can communicate with the users and make more intelligent decisions. So we can, by understanding the domain, we can communicate with the different stakeholders of the domain, and we can come out with the intelligent decisions in our project. Some domains might be very broad, such as airline reservation, medical diagnosis, and financial analysis. So if it is medical diagnosis, we need to interact with all the medical stakeholders like doctors, patients, pharmacists, nurses, and other research people of the medical domain. So the people who work in a domain and who have deep knowledge of it are called the domain experts. So if the person is specialized in a particular domain, we will call them as domain expert. And to perform domain analysis, you gather information from whatever sources of information are available. Those include domain experts, any books and related to the domain, and existing software and its documentation and other documents you can find. So to understand the domain, you need to read the domain books related with the particular domain, and we should interact with the people who are all working in the domain so that we can get the complete idea about the particular domain. So the definition of domain analysis is the process of identifying, collecting, organizing, representing a domain model from the study of existing system, underlying theory, emerging technology, and development histories within the domain of interest. So to understand the particular domain, we should collect and identify all the related data based on the domain, and we should organize and represent the data in a particular model so that we can represent the model as a project. So the various activities which are interrelated with the domain analysis are, so first we will take the how. How means domain analysis methods, management, procedures. How the particular domain is handled, what are the methods and procedures followed in the domain can be understood by using how. How and outputs means taxonomy, standards, functional models, and domain languages. So by doing the domain analysis, first we'll ask how the domain is functioning for all the people related with the domain. And we'll take the inputs like technical literatures, existing implementations, customer surveys, expert advice, and current and future requirements for the particular domain. So by taking these parameters as input to the domain analysis, and by applying how and who is handling the domain, problem domain expert, domain analyst, and infrastructure implementer and infrastructure analyst. So those are all the people related with the particular domain. So by doing the domain analysis, we'll come out with the model or taxonomy or standards or functional models that can be used for our project. So analyzing the domain, say if I am going to do one project based on ATM system, or so I need to understand the banking sector. I need to understand the financial aspects and the various transactions related with the banking sector. Then only I can create an ATM project. So in the domain analysis, why we are doing this domain analysis and what are the benefits of this means fast development, able to communicate with the stakeholders efficiently. So if you understand the domain perfectly, then you can create the project very fast, and you can communicate with the various modules as well as the end users effectively. Better system, knowing subtitles of the domain to solve customers' problems. You should understand all the key variables and key functionalities of the domain. Anticipation of extensions concentrates on domain knowledge to know emerging trends and opportunities for future development. So we need to identify the various extensions, extensional activities related with the particular domain, so that the knowledge about the domain and the various emerging fields of the domain can be easily implemented. It is useful to write a summary of information found during domain analysis. So after doing the domain analysis, we should write down the an information or a software specification related with the summary of data what we collected from domain analysis. The process of organizing and writing this summary can help you gain better knowledge. So once you analyze to the domain, then based on the specification written based by the domain can be useful to write your complete project in a systematic way. So in the domain analysis, what are the activities we are performing, or what are the things we need to do while doing the domain analysis? Or the domain analysis document are divided into the following sections. So after the domain analysis is performed, we will write down the domain analysis document. The domain analysis document should contain the following elements. So we should have the introduction part about the domain, glossary of terms used in the particular domain, general knowledge about the domain and customers and users of the particular domain, the environment where the domain is working, and the task procedures currently performed in the domain, and competing softwares which can be used in the domain, and similarities across domain and organizations. So these are the things we should write, we should prepare after the domain analysis is performed. So in a domain analysis introduction part, what we will write means, so it's a medical, say for example, if your project is a medical emergency dispatch, so the motivation for the domain analysis is to develop a new system that would improve the existing system, include accurate guidance to fast response time, flexibility, and saving lives. So in introduction part, you have to write the project is aiming to create an automated system for medical emergency dispatch, and it will provide all the advanced features which can be useful for the medical people. So like that, you have to write down the introduction part to your domain analysis. Then in the glossary, much of the special terminologies for this domain will be medical nature. There will also be terminology related to communication equipments, emergency vehicles, and resource equipment. So in the glossary of terms, you will write down all the keywords and the various terms used in the medical field, like structures, ambulance, the various people like doctors, patients, nurses, pharmacy people. So all the keywords, the terms, the instruments, medical terms, all those things will be specified, whatever we are going to use in our project as variables, classes, and objects. So first we will write down the introduction, then we will write down the glossary of the domain. Then the third point is general knowledge about the domain. So you have to summarize the important facts of rules that are widely known by the domain experts and normally learned as part of the education. So you have to explain the various activities, the general aspects of the domain, include specific principles, business processes, analysis techniques, and technical works, and excellent places to use the diagram. So yes. So we'll write down the general information about the domain in the third column, general knowledge, and the customers and users. So based on the domain analysis, we will find out the various stakeholders of the particular project, describes who will or might buy the software and in what industrial sectors they will operate. So who is going to use your project, and overall the end users like doctors, nurses, or pharmacists and patients. So all the industrial people and the stakeholders, customers, end user details will be mentioned, their background and attitude, as well as how they fit into the organization chart. The hierarchy of chart in the organization or in the domain should be specified in the customers and end users. Then in the domain analysis, the environment is the hospital environment in case of medical diagnosis project. So they describe the equipment and systems used in the domain, and new systems and extensions will have work in the context of the environment. So the various instruments, people, and the environment, the place where it is going to be used, everything should be specified in the environment, and the task and procedures currently performed. So we need to specify how manually they are doing the process in the current scenario. Before implementing the project, how they are doing the project, how they are doing the activities. Once your project is created, how it is going to be automated. It is important to understand both the procedures people are supposed to follow as well as the shortcuts they need to take. And the task listed in the section might be candidate for automation. So we'll specify the various procedures which are performed currently in the section of the task and procedures. And the competing software describes what software is available to assist the users and customers, including software that are already in use, and discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the software if they are using any software or automated system presently, that should be mentioned. Existing system should be mentioned, and the information suggests ideas for requirements and highlights mistakes to avoid. So if the current system should be mentioned, and how your proposed system is going to overcome the drawbacks, that should be mentioned. Similarities and across domain and organizations. So understanding what generic and what is specific will help to create software that might be more reusable or more widely marketable. So if if any system is already existing that can be used by the particular domain people, can also be taken into consideration. And what is the drawback in the existing system, and how the existing similar project can be modified so that it can be more efficient than the automated system, that can be described in this particular section. So after the domain is analyzed, we will go for the domain analysis document. The domain analysis document will mention all the parameters. Not to write an extensive amount of detailed information, it is a waste of effort to duplicate the original source material. So you no need to mention everything in the domain document. Only you need to mention what are the parameters you are considering for your project. Domain analysis should simply include a brief summary of the information you have found and references and other detailed information. Good knowledge of the domain of application considerably increases your chances of success. So based on the domain analysis document only, we are going to create our software specification. So you need to take all the major parameters and keywords and the functional activities, and that should be explained in detail in your domain analysis document. So they given you an assignment in the textbook. So write in short domain analysis for the following. So the GPS automobile navigation system. So you need to analyze the GPS automobile navigation systems already existing. Then you can write down the various parameters about the GPS system and household alarm system. We are using household alarms, and where it is used, who is using the household alarms, and what is the functionality, how it is useful, and how it can be automated as a security system. That can be, for that also you can write the domain analysis document. And student information system. So in student information system, we are maintaining the student details, personal details, academic details, and attendance, marks, internal assessment, external assessment marks, semester wise. So all those things are maintained manually. So that can be automated. That particular domain can be analyzed. According to the domain analysis, you can create an documentation. So based on that, you can create an project. So any doubt in the domain analysis? Any doubt in this domain analysis? So the next subheading is called starting point for software projects. So when a development team works on a software project, their starting point can be very considerably. The 4 broad categories of starting points are, so how we will start our software project. What are the things we should consider before starting our project? Means we should consider the 4 major elements. One is new development, evolution of the existing development, and requirements must be determined. Clients have produced requirements. So these 4 parameters we will consider. By taking these 4 parameters as a matrix, we will go for the solution. Say your project is a new software project. If it is yes, and the requirements must be determined. You should determine that, because if it is a fresh project, you should write down all the requirements. And the clients have produced requirements. If you got the requirements from the clients, then you can go for we can start from B. Or evolution of the existing project. Then already the project is existing. You are going to modify the project with the advanced features. Then we can go for C. And evolution of the existing project, and clients have produced the requirements. So the project is available and we need some advanced feature. In that case, we can go for the option D. So this is the starting point we should consider before developing any project. So based on the domain analysis, then we will go for the problem definition and scope. So once the domain is identified, we need to identify the problem. So defining the software problem, a problem can be expressed as a difficulty that users or customers are facing. So they are facing some problem in the existing process. the difficulty should be overcome by the project, or an opportunity that will result in some benefits such as improvement productivity or sales. So first we should identify the problem in the given software project. The solution to the problem normally will entitle developing software. So for the given problem, solution will be a project that will solve the problem. A good problem statement is short and one or more sentences is best. Say for example, if you are developing a new student registration system, you might express the problem as follows. For the student registration system, the problem statement will look like this. A system will allow student to register for courses and change their registration or simply and rapidly as possible. So this will be with the problem statement. So you're going to create a project that will make the students to automate the registration process, and they can change the registration and they can change the rapidly they can access the system. So any doubt in the problem, defining the problem? Any doubt? So once the problem is identified, then we'll go for defining the scope. Are you able to see the screen? We need to identify the solution for the problem by defining the scope. Narrow the scope by defining a more precise problem. List all the things you might imagine the system doing. Say for example, exclude some of the things if too broad, and determine high level goals for if it is too narrow. So once the problem is identified, we should check for the scope. What are the various solutions available, and any new solution is available, and advantages and disadvantages of the existing solutions. Then we should go for a particular solution method which can improvise the existing problem. Say for example, a university registration system, initial list of problems with very broad scopes. So if you are going to create a project called a university registration system, for the particular project, defining the scope of the project and problem statement will be like this. So browsing the courses. So your solution or the project proposed project should provide the following solutions. So browsing the courses, room allocation to the students according to the courses, and exam scheduling, and the registration of the courses, and fee payment through the system. And this will be the broad area of scope for the university registration system. And if you go with very narrow, so we can go for, they can browse the courses, they can register for the courses, or we can make the fee payment as a separate module. Or if you scope of the another system will be, so we can take the project as a very broad by taking all the parameters and various functions as a single entity, or we can narrow down the project into with very few specifications. So the project can be divided into so many subsystems, registration of the courses and fee payment as separate module, and examination system as a separate module. Any doubt so far? The domain analysis and the specification. So the next topic is called requirements definition and types of requirements. So what is requirement means? It is a statement describing either an aspect of what the proposed system must do. So we are going to create a project. In that project, what for we are creating the project? What are the functionalities our project is going to perform in an automated way? A constraint on the system's development, and the various constraints we are going to put into the system so that it will work by obeying the various rules and regulations. In either case, it might contribute in some way towards adequately solving the customer's problems. So your proposed system will solve the customer's needs in a particular way. The set of requirements as a whole represents a negotiated agreement among the stakeholders. So that will fulfill the requirements of the various stakeholders or users of your project. A collection of requirements is requirements document. So we will collect the requirements from the end users and domain, and we will create a requirements document. Any doubt what is software requirements? Any doubt so far in the part 2? So domain analysis document and software requirements. Yashvi, any doubt? Jashwant Reddy. Okay, again we will see a video.
No more.
Yeah, based on the requirements analysis, we'll have a small video that will give you an idea about what is software requirements. Are you able to see the screen? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the video is not visible. The file
Yes.
explorer folder is there.
Now the video is visible to you.
No, ma'am.
Okay, wait, I will check. Now the video is visible to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Functional requirements. Functional requirements have to do with the functionality of the system, with what the system does, with the computation. For example, the elevator shall take people to the floor they select. That's the functional requirement. That has to do with the functionality of the system. Or, for a very simple one, the system has to output the square root of the number passed as an input. So these kind of requirements have in general well-defined satisfaction criteria. So for example, if for the latter one that we mentioned, it is pretty how to check whether the output is actually the square root of the number passed as an input. Non-functional requirements, conversely, refer to a system's non-functional properties, system's qualities, such as security, accuracy, performance, cost, or usability, adaptability, interoperability, reusability, and so on. So all these qualities that don't necessarily have to do with the functionality. And unlike functional requirements, non-functional requirements do not always have clear satisfaction criteria. For example, if we say that the elevator must be fast, that's a non-functional requirement, right? It has to do with the speed of the elevator, which is but it's not clear how such a requirement could be satisfied. How can we tell whether the elevator is fast or not? So what we need to do in these cases is that we need to refine these requirements so that they become verifiable. For the example that I just mentioned, for instance, we might say that the elevator must reach the requested floor in less than 30 seconds from the moment when the floor button is pushed. This is still a non-functional requirement, but is a verifiable one.
See the video and hear the voice. You got the idea? What is functional requirement and non-functional requirements? Are you able to see the video? Say for example, we are taking the functional and non-functional requirements of a project. So the functional requirements means the various functions or activities going to perform is called functional requirements. Say for example, getting the information, doing the process and displaying the data and creating reports and giving the views and status, all those things will come under functional activities of the particular project. And in case of non-functional requirements, so the accuracy, efficiency, concurrency, as well as, so they cannot be visualized, or we can say it is an intangible properties of the particular system. Say the system is very efficient, very accurate, very highly secure. So those cannot be, and it is trustworthy. The intangible properties of the system is called as non-functional requirements. It is cost efficiently. The system is very, very efficient in terms of cost, time, and modules, memory wise. So it occupies very less memory space. So those things will not be represented in the represented as functions. So those parameters are called non-functional requirements. So got the idea what is functional requirement and what is non-functional requirement? Are you able to see the screen? So collecting the information required for a project is called functional requirements. And the requirements can be classified into the following types. Are you able to see? Are you able to see the PPT screen? Kirtana? Vandana? Are you able to see the screen? Shall we continue? One of you answer my question. Jashwant?
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Yeah. Are you able to see the PPT screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So our next topic is types of requirements. So the types of requirements can be classified into the major 5 types: functional requirements, non-functional requirements, quality requirements, platform requirements, and process requirements. Functional requirements describes what the system should do. So the various functions of the system are defined under functional requirements, and input functions, output functions, processing activities, various transactions, the database activities, front-end activities, all those things will come under functional requirements. Non-functional requirements describe functional aspect of the software. So the non-functional aspects like the security, efficiency, accessibility, runtime. So all those memory efficiency, those things will come under non-functional requirements. Quality requirements constraints on the design to meet specified levels of quality. Whether we are following the standard quality standards, end user security, all those things providing the username, password, protecting the data. Those parameters are implemented in your project or not. Platform requirements specifies constraints on the environment and technology of the system. Whether your project is going to run in Windows platform or Apple Macintosh, or in the DOS platform, or in Unix or Linux platform, or in Android platform. So the environment, operating environment will be identified in platform requirements. In process requirements, constraints the plan and development methods. So what are the process activities we are going to perform? Say that we are going to follow the spiral model, or we are going to follow concurrent model, or evolutionary software development model. Which model, which framework we are going to use, that is identified using process requirements. So these are the 5 major requirements for any project. So then what is functional requirement means? What inputs the system should accept. So the various input elements of the system will come under functional requirements. What outputs the system should produce, the output functions. What the data the system should store that other systems might use. What are the data we're going to store permanently in the databases. And what computations the system should perform. The various computations or transactions. The timing and synchronization of the above. So how many times we are going to repeat the process, and how the data is going to be synchronized. So these are the various functional requirements of these activities will come under functional requirements. If you take the non-functional requirements which are not related to the functional aspect of the software fall into this category. Non-functional activities will come under non-functional requirements. They are implicit or explicit characteristics of software which users make assumptions of. The various implicit and explicit non-functional requirements are: the non-functional requirements include security, logging, storage, configuration, performance, cost, interoperability, and flexibility. So if you go to any in external project review or in the project Viva, they will ask you what is non-functional requirements, because the functional requirements, everything will be specified in the project. So in the project, in the algorithm and the design part, we'll specify for the functional requirements only, we will write the specification, as well as we'll have the diagrams. For non-functional specific requirements, that is not available not mentioned in the project. So anyhow, they will ask you the question, what is non-functional requirement? So in that case, the non-functional requirements are almost common for all the projects. So if they ask you the question, what is non-functional requirements of your project or in any project, the various non-functional requirements are security aspects, logging aspects, storage, configuration, performance, cost, interoperability, and flexibility. These are some of the non-functional requirements. Any doubt in this? The functional requirements and non-functional requirements are the major requirements activities. The third requirement is called quality. So we should consider the quality in any project. All the constraints must be verifiable. Say for example, a response time. So if you give the input within 1 minute, 1 second or 2 seconds, you are getting the output. The response time is very fast. So the response time is one of the quality parameter. Throughput, how much input it will accept and how much data it can process at a time, and how it is storing the data in the databases, and how much data we can retrieve from the system. So that is called throughput. The third one is resource usage. What are the resources we are using? The system needs a special operating system, or it needs a separate web page, or we need separate database, or other resources like audio resources. What are the resources we are going to use in our project? That also plays an important role in the quality. Reliability, whether it will give you the result in an efficient way. Shall we rely on the results, what is produced in the system? That is called reliability. Say nowadays we are performing COVID test. So even the negative people also getting the positive results. So because of the mistake in the instrument. So we cannot rely on the based on the manufacturer. So your project should give a reliable result. The result should be trustworthy. So that is called reliability. Availability, whether the project is available anywhere, anytime, 24/7, online or offline. So that is called That is also one of the quality parameter. And recovery from failure. If something is happened to some function and shall we easily overcome from the failure? Shall we receive, how long it takes to resume from the failure or from hangout or from any fault? So that is also one of the quality parameter. Allowances for maintainability and enhancement. We need to spend any, what are the peripherals or what are the resources, or we need any special software to maintain the software, or need to back up the data. So the maintenance activities related with the product also places an important role. Allowances for reusability. So whether the project can be used and reused again and again in different environments. So that is also important in case of quality requirements. So any doubt in the quality requirements? The fourth one is called platform requirements. Requirements constrains the environment and technology of the system. So the constraints computing platform, whether the project will work only in laptop or in the desktop or in the Android platform or in the, depending upon the operating system. So if you are creating the project only in a, if your project will support only in a Windows operating system, then the Linux and Unix operating system people, they cannot make use of your project. Or if your project is created for mobile phone, Android phone, then the iOS platform people, they cannot access. So the computing platform places an important role. Technology to be used. What are the special hardware and software features we are using? Any special tool or any special operating system or any special embedded softwares we are using in our project, that also places an important role in platform requirements. Software tools to be used. The various supporting software tools or various supporting apps that are interrelated with the project also places an important role. So these are the platform requirements. And process requirements. So the requirements constrains the project plan and the development methods, like a development process to be used, cost and delivery of the project. So how much time we need to deliver the project, and how much time, how much money we need to spend to make use of the project, and any special equipments or methodology we need to use the software. Those are the process requirements. To run your process or to run your project, what are the requirements they need? So that also places an important role. So these are the 5 requirements aspects of any project. Software functional requirements, non-functional requirements, process requirements, quality requirements, and platform requirements. So any doubt in the requirements process? Shall we continue? Any doubt? What is software requirement? What is a software requirement analysis? The major software requirements, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, process requirements, platform requirements, quality requirements, and any doubt? Prati Jain?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, shall we continue? So the next topic is called techniques for gathering and analyzing the requirements. How we can collect the data and how we can analyze the data, what we collected to start the project. So the various techniques for gathering, analyzing the requirements are, so we can make use of the observation techniques. We will go to the actual environment and we will observe how the process is done. We will observe and note down the points, then we will start doing the project. Or interviewing, we are conducting interview with the corresponding people, domain experts, and collecting the data. Based on that, we will do the project. Or going for prototype. Any environment or any project will have its own prototype or rules and regulations, the various activities. So based on that, we will create a prototype, then we'll start doing the project. Or by using use case analysis. So conducting a use case analysis with the various stakeholders of the project. Then after collecting the data, we can do the project. So these are the various, these are the 6 types of techniques for gathering and analyzing the requirements. Because any project is given to you, you need to collect the requirements by going to the actual environment and by collecting the data, then we'll start doing the project. The 6 techniques are observations, interviews, brainstorming, prototyping, use case analysis. So in observation, read documents and discuss requirements with the users. So the manual documents we can read and understand, and we will discuss with the users of the project, and shadowing important potential users as they do their work, and ask the users to explain everything he or she is doing, and session video typing. So we will see the actual working environment. Say for example, if you are doing a project for student registration system, we will go to the actual college or student in university where we will observe the day-to-day activities of the students. Then by observing the various activities, we will write down the observations into requirements. So that is called observation. The second one is called interviewing. We will conduct an interview with the various people, conduct a series of interviews, ask about specific details about the project, and ask about the stakeholders' vision for the future. We'll ask the questions to the stakeholders, ask if they have any alternative ideas. So if they have any ideas, that also we can implement in our project. Ask for other sources of information. So we'll ask the various sources like documents, manuals, and other daily reports, everything, and ask them to draw the diagrams. So we will conduct interview with the corresponding people, and we will collect the information in the form of questionnaires, or in the form of sources of information, or manual documents, or collecting the diagrams from the end users. So the first one is observation, second one is conducting interview to collect the requirements. The third one is called brainstorming. So brainstorming is a management activity. So appoint an experienced moderator, arrange the attendees around the table, decide on the trigger question, ask each participant to write an answer, and pass the paper to the neighbor. Joint application development. So we can make use of the brainstorming technique. So we'll give one question to each and every person in the people related with the domain, and we'll collect the information from all the people. We'll pass the information to all other people. Then we will discuss, and we'll come out with the best method to solve the problem. Or we can go for joint application development. It is a technique based on intensive brainstorming sessions. So we'll have a deep in the discussion, and with all the people or stakeholders of the project, and brainstorming by conducting the brainstorming or by raising the questions among the people, we'll have a discussion. Then we'll come out with the best solution. So a question is raised with all the people related with the project, and each one will give some answer. All the answers will be discussed among all the people. Then we will find out the best solution. We will take the solution to implement the project. The fourth type is called prototyping. The simplest kind of paper prototype, a set of picture of the system that are shown to the users in a sequence to explain what will happen if you implement the project. The most common mock-up of the system's user interface, written in a rapid prototyping language, does not normally perform any computations across any databases or interact with any other systems. So we will create a prototype by discussing with all the end users of the project, and the prototype will be framed according to the rules and regulations of the company, and may prototype a particular aspect of the system. So by taking the prototypes related with the project and creating a prototype model for the system, then we'll go for the requirements, or we'll go for use case analysis. In case of use case analysis, determine the classes of users that will use the facilities of the system. So we'll identify various functionalities of the project and who are all the end users of the project. And then the use case analysis will be performed. Determine the task that each use actor will need to do with the system. So various activities and the users of the activities and functions will be identified, and analysis will be done based on the use cases which we get from the end users. So these are the 5 techniques: observations, interviews, and brainstorming, prototyping, and use case analysis. So any doubt in the requirements for gathering, techniques for gathering and analyzing the requirements? So we are following 5 techniques: observations, brainstorming, interviews, prototypes, and use case analysis. Based on the techniques, and after collecting the data, we will go for requirements document and types of requirement document. So after the requirements are collected, we'll write down the requirements in a documentation form. So what is requirement document means? To perform good software engineering, it is always appropriate to write down requirements. The level of detail of the requirements can vary significantly from project to project. There are documents that informally outline the requirements using few paragraphs or simple diagrams. So we can the requirements document may be written in English like statements to like algorithmic statements we can write down, or we can have some small diagrams to represent that represents our requirements. It's sufficiently complete, it should be well organized, and it should be clear to understand, agreed to by all the stakeholders. So the requirement document should be easy to understand, it should be well organized with all the parameters and clear to read and write, and it should be acceptable by all the stakeholders of the project. So we have different types of requirements documents. The two types of requirements documents are requirements definition, and the second one is requirements specification. So an informal outline of the requirements using a few paragraphs or simple diagrams is called requirements definition. We'll write down the definitions of the requirements. A long list of specification that contains thousands of pages of in detailed definition is called requirements specification. So the requirement specification is the algorithmic representation of your complete project. And the requirements definition will give you the various definitions associated with your project. So the requirements document should contain, any requirements document should have the following 5 elements. The problem should be stated, background information should be written, environment and the system model should be specified, functional requirements and non-functional requirements should be clearly stated in your requirements document. So the typical requirements document will look like this. So the requirements document for small and large systems normally arranged in hierarchy. So the same project will be divided into so many subsystems. For subsystem 1, what are the requirements? And a requirement specific definition will be there, requirements specification will be written. And the same way, the subsystem 2 of your project, requirements definition will be written, the same requirement specification will be written in detail. So the various types of requirements documents are level of detailed requirements in the required document. How much detail should be provided depends on the size of the system. So the requirements document will be written based on the following parameters. If your project is very big, we need to write detailed requirements document. If it is small size project, so the requirements will be very less. So the requirements document is based on the size of the system, need to interface with other systems and other domains, and readership, stages in requirements gathering, level of experience with the domain and the technology, cost that could be incurred in the requirements were faulty. So it means that the requirements document vary depending upon the size of the project, cost of the project, and whether the project is a sub-project or major project, and based on the level of the expertise of the programmers. So based on that, the requirements document will be written. And the next topic is managing changes in the requirements. So once the requirement document is written, if you want to do any changes in the procedures or methods or the end users or the software configuration or a hardware configuration or in the table design, how to manage the changes in the requirements. So the managing change in the requirements document, it requires change because business process changes, technology changes, the problem becomes better understood. So while doing the project itself, a new technology may come, the need of the end user may change, or the policies may change. So according to that, we need to do the changes. Requirement analysis never stops, continue to interact with the clients and users. The benefits of changes must be outweighed at the cost. So certain small changes can be like feel of the end user interface, or quick and easy to make, relatively little cost. So the changes may be small changes or it may be large changes. So once the requirements are gathered, we may change the user interface design, or we may change the database design or in the front end design. Or if it is large design, we will totally change the project. All the functions will be changed, and the end users may change, the language and the software hardware configuration may totally change. So that is called large scale changes. Have to be carefully accessed. Forcing unexpected changes into the partially built system will probably poor design and late delivery. So we need to fix the requirements before start doing the projects. If you do the changes often, it may increase the cost, it may increase the time, and the change in the requirements may be classified as small changes or large changes, depending upon the changes what we are going to make in our project. Some changes are enhanced in the discuss, avoid making the system bigger, only make it better. So the changes should be done so that the complexity is reduced and the efficiency of the project is effectively addressed, and time and cost throughput that is reduced. So we should not make any changes unnecessarily. If you want to enhance the performance, or if you want to do changes that increases the efficiency, that is useful. So any doubt in the managing change requirements in this topic? Prati Jain, any doubt how to manage changes in the requirements? So we were discussing about domain analysis, then domain analysis document, then requirements analysis, functional requirements and types of requirements, functional, non-functional requirements. Then we discussed requirements gathering techniques, interviewing, observation, brainstorming, prototyping, and performance. Then we started with managing changes in the requirements. So we have one more topic, difficulties and risk in domain and requirements analysis. So while performing the requirements analysis, we need to think about the various difficulties and risk factors associated with our project. So the various kind of difficulties and risks associated with the requirements analysis are lack of understanding of the domain or the real problem or the real problem. So if you cannot understand the actual problem, then start doing the project, that will create a risk. Do domain analysis and prototyping should be done properly so that we can understand the domain. Requirements change rapidly. If your requirements are changing often, then the project cannot be completed within the given time. Performance incremental development, build flexibility into the domain, do regular reviews. So the review process should be done in each stage so that we can avoid rapid changes and attempting to do too much. So if you are doing a more processes in a single project, so the complexity will increase and the size of the project will increase. So we should carefully estimate the time and the early stage of the project itself so that we can avoid attempting to do much work. It may be hard to conflicting sets of requirements. Brainstorming, JAD sessions and competing prototypes can be used to avoid the conflicts in future. Through brainstorming, through JAD sessions and creating prototypes, we will fix the specification, then we will start doing the project. It is hard to state requirements precisely. Break requirements into simple sentences and review them carefully. Look for potential ambiguity, make early prototypes. So we should specify all our requirements in a precise manner so that it can be easily implemented in our project. So these are some of the difficulties we may face during the requirement analysis process. So in the part 2, module 1, so we discussed so far the domain analysis, what is the definition and scope, then requirements definition, what is requirements and what is the definition, different types of requirements like functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and other 3 types, requirements for gathering, analysis and requirements. Then we discussed requirements document, reviewing and managing changes in the requirements. So these are the topics related with the requirements analysis. So that we discussed in the part 2 of module 1. So you please go through the content, domain analysis, requirements analysis and the requirements document. If you have any doubt, ask me in the next class. So any doubt so far? Rishika, any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Already I have uploaded the module 1 part 2 material also in the Google Classroom. Those who are not yet joined the Google Classroom, please join. I will upload the today's videos related with the spiral model as well as requirements specification, types of requirements. So 2-3 videos related with the requirements analysis and the process models. Process model videos like spiral model and prototype model and waterfall model videos I will upload in the Google Classroom. Okay, go through the content. If you have any doubt, you ask me in the next class. Please answer your attendance in the chat box. 2 to 3 class attendance is separate. 3:15 to 4:15 attendance is separate. So those who are absent to this session will be marked absent. Tomorrow we have class from 8:30 to 9:30. Please attend the class. And if you have any doubt in the module 1, now we completed module 1. If you have any doubt in the module 1, you can ask me in tomorrow's class. Then we will start the module 2. All of you answer your attendance in chat box. Those who answer to the attendance can leave the class. All of you answered. Shall we end the class? Okay, shall we end the class now?